All right, here we go. Starting the show. Hopefully, we'll have a fairly consistent signal this week. All right. Hi, everybody. What's happening, chat room? Good morning to you. All right. This is going to be a heck of a show. I have to, let's see. Crap, where do I? Oh, maybe they have it. Lady B?
Yes.
Can you get the audio, the rather disturbing audio of Trump praising General Lee?
Okay.
There should be a clip of it. Yeah. From his rally in Ohio.
Yes, I will.
Good. Hi, good morning. Hey, what's happening? This is yeah. This week. Okay. I'm gonna try and find a way to. Let's see. Okay. There we go. Let me get my chat room breakout here. How's it going? Morning. Yeah. Oh, wow. Thanks for getting up and joining us. I guess enjoying your tea time with us, Ann, while we get up early. What's up, Jamie? How you doing? Good morning. Are you going to make fun of the mentally ill today? Why would I do that? What are you talking about? Today is Saturday. I get ready for work and I'm off today. Oh, did you have one of those mornings where you're like, "Oh my God, I'm late for a plane," and then you're not even flying anywhere? I've never had that experience. Spent the morning at the farmer's market, but back in time for the show. Nicely done. Mr. K. Let's see. All right. Let's put this over here. Remember to wear blue 3 days before the election. Is that good luck, or is that just a signal? Why is my mouse being weird? Okay.
It's about 52 seconds.
Okay, great.
And we're down to 36 seconds.
Okay. We will be up in just a second. Morning, Nat. How are you? I did start early, mainly because I wanted to make sure that I was getting some sort of clear stream. Yes, I did, Brad. As a matter of fact, I have that in my main stories today, too.
Give it a try. I've used it. I absolutely love it.
Well, good for you.
I have come here to chew bubblegum and kick ass. And I'm all out of bubblegum. Things are going to start happening to me now.
Live exclusively for WCPT AM and FM in Chicago and streaming worldwide at chicagosprogressivetalk.com. Standing up and speaking out, here's Hal Sparks.
All right, you primitive screwheads, listen up.
To do the bind.
So in the wake of Florence doing less damage than expected, the pressure taken off after people feel like there has been a sort of a reprieve from the storm when they've been told that a Cat 3 or a Cat 4 is going to hit them and it pulls down to a tropical storm, that they kind of start doubting the weather and whatnot. And then Hurricane Michael rolls in this week and reminds everyone that a storm is not storm season. and that these are all increasingly getting worse. And Hurricane Michael, which was curiously named, by the way, during October as they're about to release the new Halloween reboot.
I'm all over that coincidence.
Yeah, that was super weird. Hi, Johnny Million, by the way.
Hi.
Johnny's with us today. And thank you, Hal Vickery, for right out of the gate super chatting us. That's awesome. That's super sweet. I, especially in October, the 666 month, I would guess, in many ways. So on top of the hurricane news, where, all of a sudden, when it comes to the southern states, and certainly insofar as the voting bloc that Donald Trump is appealing to, the whiter states, he's all about reassuring and visiting and making sure that they have a really good feeling about their government. Puerto Rico, not so much. As a matter of fact, they're responsible for all their own failings. Then on top of that, that's a major. The death toll is continuing to rise in the aftermath of that. A lot of people did not take the admonitions to seek higher ground, get to shelters, and leave the area. And one of them, I think, one of the first people killed was an 11 or 12-year-old girl who's basically I think the carport of her house was lifted up and smashed into the house itself and struck her room.
Crikey.
This is no joke. These, when these weather systems happen, they have massive impacts, and you can, a lot of, the consistent issue that a lot of people especially in certain income brackets have, and what you would call, vulnerable communities, has a lot to do with the fact that the buildings that they live in, while maybe at code, are at minimum code because they're old and they've been shored up a little bit. Meanwhile, the newer buildings are beyond code just for insurance purposes. You build a new high-rise in that area of the world, they're going to want it to be able to withstand, Cat 6, Cat 7 to get the kind of insurance that you're going to want to get. And most of these places, though, they have a difficult time in a Cat 1, and then, once you get up into, full hurricane strength, like we've seen it with Michael, and then even in the tropical storm change that it made is vicious as a storm front, on level with a lot of tornadoes going through the Midwest and the like, and hitting areas that were not prepared for it, quite frankly. So that's going on. And again, this falls into, I mentioned this last week, one of those areas where once you become president, there are, to kind of borrow from Donald Rumsfeld, which he borrowed from, umpteen other people, there are known unknowns, unknown unknowns, known knowns, and unknown knowns, right? This is the 4 categories of knowledge. And when it comes to hurricane season, it's a known known. You have no excuse. You know it's coming. You know that there will be a period of time, and you know generally where it will be affected. And most of those states have, situational awareness and rescue, equipment and personnel who will jump to it, but will largely be overwhelmed in the face of something large. And Edward, no, a Cat 6 or 7 does not exist. The point is they have to be over code for the 5 to get $1 billion insurance policy for a building, was the point I'm making. Anyways, this is one of, things like International Women's Day, Hispanic History Month, Black History Month, every holiday, those kind of things, which as the president of an entire country full of a variety of human beings in it, you can just take a generalized awareness of, and plan accordingly. Do it in January, and make sure that you're checking in once a month, that when this comes, you're ready for it as best you can be. Now, there's nothing that will prepare everyone, and you certainly can't, unless you're ready to force at gunpoint people to get out of there. there's limitations to what you can do. But then you can go, statistically, we know that in these areas, 80% of these people are going to leave. 20% of people are going to be left behind. And we're finding that as we ask people, 60% are actually now staying because they don't trust the fake news, because somebody up high told them that you can't trust the news and science and weather, and especially climate related weather. And so more people are going to die continually, by the way, over the next few years than are necessary, because they've been told not to believe climate science. They've been told not to believe the news repeatedly. One of the areas where, if you know that's going to be your plan as a president, where you're going to use this fake news tactic, you can say, well, that's the editorial pages. But folks, if the governor and your state representatives and your, and the weatherman is telling you leave, those are people you can trust. You know what I mean? It's a simple fix. This is, Johnny, over the last, especially during the Kavanaugh hearings, over the last few months specifically, I have almost moved from a point where I'm sort of disgusted and disappointed in the obvious moral shortcomings of the people who are running things, and their sort of cash grab mentality about running our government. And we'll get to that in a minute. The fact that it turns out Jared Kushner hasn't paid any taxes in decades either, even though he's been making millions of dollars. It turns out that Trump put in, as part of the tax bill that they just passed, a permanent loophole for making sure that if you have a foreign pass-through for money coming in, as he and Jared have, you will more than likely never have to pay income taxes on it ever. The kind of kleptocracy that they obviously want to put in place. I've moved past being, I think you reach sort of a shock factor, where you're just like, I'm not surprised anymore. What I am surprised by is how stupid and ineffective they are in every area outside their cash grab area. It has now become the equivalent of the Kevin Gage character in Heat, where he didn't have to shoot the guy. They're robbing a bank, you know what I mean? Where it screwed up even their plan. You know what I mean?
Yep.
There's a point to which you look at what these guys are doing. And in the case of Kavanaugh, the case I made was that there was a way for Kavanaugh to defend himself, plead ignorance about the event, and believe me, please listen to me, those who are listening, that I'm not defending, nor do I support that this is actually a moral case, that this is actually what he should have done. But this is what concerns me, even beyond the fact that he has monstrous attitudes towards women, and is that he could have defended himself, saying and been honest about his high school and college drinking, completely stated a belief in Dr. Ford's charges, denied that they were him, or that he has any memory or sober movement towards doing that kind of behavior as an adult. It is something he would work against. There's so many ways he could have lied well.
Yep. Yeah, he's a bad liar.
That's right. And my concern is that the bad lying part isn't because of lack of practice. My concern is it's because of lack of smarts. And that effectively we have another Clarence Thomas on the court.
That's exactly what we have.
Yes, a follower conservative who will defer to the most conservative voice on the court. That's the point. And don't get me wrong. There'll be some nasty opinions from Judge Kavanaugh over time. But my problem is that it appears that he is incapable of complex thinking. That even within his legal reasoning, it seems to be materially attached to past president and the obvious reading of the law. That, when everybody goes, he's a great legal scholar, that's because he can, either memorize or have his clerks cite proper precedent for himself in his work as a jurist. That does not mean that when you are in front of the Supreme Court explaining a complex issue with long-term ramifications about the social impact and emotional impact of a law, as well as the financial, we'll get into the economy in a minute, but that he simply cannot understand the long-term effects of what he is saying or doing at any given time. And that, in many ways, is why he is the perfect Trump appointee. And that's just how we started our week. And then there was Kanye. We'll be back. It's the House Sparks Radio program, Mega Worldwide. And that's Johnny Million on guitar.
Ben Jarofsky here. Join me and the Greater Palatine Democrats and Wheeling Township Democrats on Monday, October 15th, for the fourth stop on our Meet the Candidates.
Thank you.
Sorry about that, Hal. I had to step out.
I understand.
Center, 2401
okay?
West Higgins Road.
Yeah. Doris wanted to talk to me about some promos.
To be part of the Blue Wave in Illinois. Stay for the fun.
I'm sorry. I have the video, though, prep.
Okay, great. And can you
And
turn
the
down the
Wheeling
ads?
Township Democrats.
Yeah, sorry. I'm still here.
Real estate is about bringing people.
There you go. As we focus on rights, I think Kavanaugh is going to help take America's voting rights away. That's absolutely a part of it. We're going to talk about that as soon as we come back. It's always good to see you too, Molly. Thank you. Morning, can't stop lying. What's happening, Amos? Kavanaugh's blackmailable. No one stresses this. Yeah, he is. I think it was curious that Judge Thomas, or was it Alito? I have to look it up. I think it was Thomas. Was sitting on some judicial misconduct charges against Judge Kavanaugh and has now put an investigation, in place after he's made the court. Which would, by the way, that's the only way technically he could do it. So, Lou Dowsing. Yeah. Let's see. Has anyone seen First Man yet? Saw it on IMAX last night. No, we're gonna go see it. Yeah.
21 seconds.
Wonderful. Great. Very excited. Welcome back to the House Sparks Radio program, Mega Worldwide. Now with 100% more Johnny Million playing some of my favorite Kiss licks and a song, by the way, that we played in high school, in high school band together, which was
Yes, it is.
Cold Gin, and the irony that Kiss is one of the big reasons why I don't drink and never have.
That's right. And one of the big reasons I'm an alcoholic.
There you go. And so clearly, I think we've learned a lot about ear of the beholder, as it were,
right.
and both in words and deeds. So I think that should be a message to everybody. Check yourself before you wreck yourself. The story also that came out this week about the missing Saudi journalist. I will just simply say murdered Saudi journalist Jamal Khashoggi. That guy was mob-style murdered and dismembered inside the Saudi embassy in Turkey. apparently the Saudis videotaped it for proof of death for the Saudi leader to look at, and there's this news story that he might have set his Apple Watch to record, so there's audio of it, which is amazing, and it speaks to, again, what we talked about the future of safety and assault and all this, is that, for a long time we've been taught to fear Big Brother, but there are moments when Little Brother seems to be helping us, meaning that people, Instagramming where they are, serving as a safety catch and as an alibi in some cases even. And in this case, it was apparently uploaded to the cloud, upon recording. So that story in and of itself is horrifying, especially in the climate where the president is saying the press is the enemy of the people. He states outwardly that, if we don't sell weapons to the Saudis, somebody will. Therefore, it's better if they buy our stuff. Yeah. Meanwhile, by the way, also touting in almost the same breath, we make the best stuff in the world and everybody else's stuff is crap, which would seem to undermine his argument that he can buy other stuff, but it isn't as good as ours, and there's got to be a price. Again, these are people who can't even do stupid right. And then, so that's going on. And then you've got the Georgia voter purge that Greg Palast, who has been covering for, if you don't follow him on Twitter, I mean, one of his great things is he's really keeping track of these Republican governors and Republican secretaries of state who are actively choosing to purge people from the voter rolls, and are every time they get denied or pushed back on, they try a different tactic for the same group of people. And there is a get ready for that, by the way, since the repeal of the Voting Rights Act, that
We're
this
still past all that now. Yeah,
it is now just strategy. The only thing that will stop them is an actual reinstatement, full reinstatement of the Voting Rights Act. That will not happen, by the way. That will not happen with Republicans in charge of any of the bodies of government. Understand this, that until the Democrats hold the House, the Senate, and the presidency, the Voting Rights Act or an equivalent thereof will never exist again. If that doesn't motivate you to vote, I don't know what should.
Yep.
And by the way, Act in our chat room is saying, Khashoggi was a reporter for the Washington Post, right? Maybe that's why Trump let him be murdered, because Bezos. Malcolm Nance says Trump would have known about the abduction days before. There's some. Thank you, Jamie White. There has been some talk that Trump knew that this was coming. This does not surprise me, even if he just had a wanton indifference to this. That these deals are so big, individual lives do not matter. This is a president who is obviously, there's a new story out that he is actually going to increase or at least try to reinstate his zero tolerance policy, so named zero tolerance policy of family separation. That never really ended. It was simply that the court, again, this is the same tactic they're going to take. They are going to, because they now believe they have the Supreme Court, whenever there is a legal pushback against any of their, any of these kind of schemes that they're doing, be it family separations, be it Muslim bans and the like. They're going to continue to push back until they find either a judge that they've appointed that's friendly to the idea, the other side runs out of money, or they get all the way to the Supreme Court, and these people who formerly decried activist judges will be protected by Republican activist judges. It is as simple as that. And until all three branches of government have a D, next to them, this will continue. And right now, the blue wave, as much as everyone wants to tout it, needs all hands on deck. It is within the margin of error in so many districts where it shouldn't be. That is in theft zone. Ever since Bush v. Gore, my feeling about, any kind of soft vote in anywhere simply just puts it within the theft zone, that it can be stolen, either by outside actors monkeying with the voting systems or the voter rolls, or through last-minute purges, or I'm sorry, your address is 251 Thompson Street Thompson with an H. This is spelled Thompson with a T. So you have to do a provisional ballot, and by the time we count it, it will all be over anyways. This is, and until we have such time where that isn't a concern, it has to be all hands on deck to make sure that Democrats, as the diverse party, as the equality party, until they're there to protect this system. And Americans can feel like even if a person like Trump gets into office, at least it will be, because of the popular vote, and that's just what the people want, and we have to deal with changing minds as opposed to votes. Until we get to that point, it has to be a blue tsunami. Even if you think you're in a safe state. And voting early, either by absentee or going into the office in your city wherever early voting takes place. It's very different in most cities. I'm not quite sure what the Chicagoland area is as far as early voting processes. Johnny, do you know? How do you do it?
I know that in DeKalb County, I know that there's we early vote at the courthouse in Sycamore, and it's how I've been doing it for years.
Right. And you can, let's see, we'll look up when it actually starts. I believe it's already started. Yes. For most, it started on the 8th, I think, or somewhere a month before the 6th, as it were, of October. Some places start on the 16th. Others have been coming from, I think LA, like California, you can kind of almost do it from the end of August. That's where they get really concerned about the early voting as far as people's opinions about stuff. Now, I am 100% for early voting, especially when it comes to if you're in an area where there's a chance that voting machines and provisional ballots and elements of that are denied in your district ever. Please make sure you go out early. And again, you can take someone with you if you're driving to one of these things. A lot of focus has been put on people. I'm going to take a friend of mine to the voting booth on voting day. If you're going early, take someone else. If someone's going to vote on that day and you want to carpool together, each of you know you're going to go. Find somebody to bring with you. Carpool, all four of you. And the other thing too is if everybody in your area is already there and everybody's on board, bring your kid, have them watch you vote. Let them know that being a part of a citizen of a representative democracy is important. And we got to take a break. We'll be back right after this. There's so much news, and there's an obvious attempt to bury it under Kanye and General Lee. We'll be back. Let's see. And I'm going to roll back chat room and just say hi to you guys. That post-racial crap is Robert's mantra. Yeah, well.
Carrie's going to call in at 12:20 instead.
Excellent. Okay, great. Carrie is at the Women's March today for us, chat room. So, Let's see. So glad Supreme Court ruled that we didn't need the Voting Rights Act anymore because we're in post-racial society. Right, yeah. They also have more lower court judges than ever. That's exactly right. Oh, when you went to the the vote.org, it said you weren't registered. Did you register? Did you fix that? Did you go somewhere? Yeah. Are old voters being purged or everyone? A lot of times it has to do with voters with names they don't like. Yeah, a lot of times you'll find that Hispanic and black sounding names that are identical or are close first and last name to, any felon in the state is, purged as a matter of as a matter of record, just because they can make the case that we were purging that voter because we assumed that they were, this felon trying to vote. And that's the excuse they use. It's absurd. And I think it should be illegal on a personal way, not like you can file a lawsuit against the Secretary of State's office and put a stop to it. But that if anybody actively is involved in blocking someone's right to vote, person to person, if they one to one, if I physically restrain you and don't let you vote, or if I call up the Voter Registration Act and lie and say you're not a citizen or that you moved when you did not, or any of those things, if if people are going to get put in jail because they for voter fraud the way the Republicans want, and believe me, I don't believe in non-citizen voting. I don't believe in voting in two districts, any of that stuff, double voting, none of that stuff. If that's all illegal, you should get in trouble for it. You should go to jail or pay a huge fine. But at the same time, there should be an equal punishment or a greater punishment if you actively yourself seek to stop an individual from being able to vote with wanton disregard for their right to
30
vote.
seconds.
Yes, that is a Madman action figure behind me, and it's actually from Queer as Folk. That's from Michael's room. Mm-hmm. We appreciate that, EO.
This is Tom Hartman, and you're listening to the Hal Sparks radio program, Mega Worldwide on Chicago's Progressive Talk, WCPT.
Out on the streets for a living. It's a little slower than, but I dig the groove. It's nice.
Thanks, man.
Yeah. So one of the things I was talking about during the break, and I think it's important to hit on, and by the way, Carrie, our Cub reporter, is at the Women's March. She's going to be calling in with us next hour.
She's a real live Cub bear.
She is. Well, I think it's nice that Cub reporter is a term that's used all over the country.
I love it.
But I think it's particularly good in Chicago. I'm just saying.
And she could totally be a Cub for Halloween, and everybody would.
That's
be down
right.
with it.
You'd
like paint her nose black, like one of those little
those
noses.
Yeah, right. Yeah, just straight up poo costume. That's a totally different. All right. So one of the things we were talking about in the chat room that I personally believe is that the Republicans want to prosecute people for voter fraud and pretend that this is a major problem in the country. That that illegal immigrants are voting, that non-citizens are voting, that all the scare tactics, that people are voting twice or what have you. Now, keep in mind, all the evidence about mass groups of weird voting have all come from red states and red wins. And a lot of them around 2016 in a very suspect way. I think Rachel was talking yesterday about how 600 people in a town that had 200 registered voters voted in that. So they had a 247% voter increase in a town that had that, obvious shenanigans with the voting rolls there. In an area, though, that benefited Republicans, but never mind that for a second. Let's talk about what Democrats can actually do. And the one thing I've been advocating for a very long time. Oh, thank you, Ann. That's awesome. Wow, the super chats are lovely today, and I appreciate it, you guys, so much. That's really great. Go to halsparks.tv, by the way, if you want to watch the live stream of the show and see me kind of grasping for my thoughts and try to not swear on the air, which is what happens when I get talking about voting rights. That if the Republicans want to make a major case that the 6 cases of voter fraud that have happened, and the multiple times that Ann Coulter has not been charged, are going to be the crux of their, oh my God, our voting is under attack, then Democrats need to institute a law, and I have a hard time seeing how anybody would push back against this without damaging their chances at getting reelected in general. Like, this is one of the areas of attention where I think you can get a real, it'll even get the attention of the more conservative Republicans, because non-citizen voting is a dog whistle for Hispanic people voting in certain districts in those areas. Like, I don't remember anybody who looks like that voting here, or black people voting in the remember that in the Obama election, where they're like, there were black people at the polls. I never saw any black people at the polls. Like, yeah, that's because they didn't vote until they were inspired to vote, and there was no reason why or you probably didn't live there when Clinton was running, but they hadn't been around all during Bush 1, 2, and during Reagan in your area. But this idea that they will use someone with the same name as a felon to purge them, and uniformity in the black and Hispanic communities has been used as a tool, as far as name goes, has been used as a tool for decades to purge voter rolls of every Jose Gonzalez. If you can find one Jose Gonzalez in jail, and it's super easy to find one and put him there, then you can go, oh, this is a felon trying to vote, and you can literally purge everyone with the name Jose Gonzalez. Never mind their middle name. You can say, well, he's just switching the middle name out as an attempt to vote fraudulently, and this is the tool. No kidding. That in Georgia, in Florida, Ohio, all these states where there's been this sketchy voter roll tampering going on, it's been a tactic for decades. So they're aware that when they do this, they are not purging that individual. When you attempt to purge an individual who is maybe a felon with that name, who's voting, who has even the identical with middle name, let's give them that benefit. That person also has to be in a certain voting district under a certain address. If that doesn't match any known addresses, there is no impetus to believe that anybody else with that similar name is that person. There just is not. There's no legal reason to deny that person their right to vote without any direct ties to, he's lived in 2 places. This is his other address. He put this down, but he didn't put it. Like, if there's no corroborating evidence, to use one of their favorite flailings about during the Kavanaugh hearing, then the removal of that other person, of the person who is innocent and the person who has the right to vote, it is a denial of their constitutional rights. Now, there is no constitutional right to there is no constitutional right to vote, but life, liberty, and the pursuit of happiness, and of course the idea that you have representation in your taxation, technically speaking, is the backdoor right to voting that you have.
Yep.
So, secondly, we need first of all, a federal right to vote at 18 should be codified into law. Secondly, that if anyone interferes with your right to vote, meaning that they wantonly or willfully or with disregard,
suck them in the puss.
No, quit it. I'm not playing the incivility game. I'll talk about that in the next break, because we're going to talk about the civility argument in a minute. That if the Secretary of State or any of his cronies or any of those folks work to purge people that they know are legal voters, and there will be emails, there will be texts, there will be communications that show that they, in the case of at least one person, if not 10, if not 100, and in the case of Georgia, tens of thousands, if they know, and it can be proven in any way that they know, that they are purging people who have the right to vote, there should be a per count sentence and fine for every individual. If I come to Johnny Million and he wants to vote on voting day and he hasn't voted yet, and I hold him in the house and do not allow him until the polls close, not only should I be charged with kidnapping and lack of pizza, but also I should be charged with denying someone their federal rights to vote, right? That would be sort of normal.
It's a thing.
But if you do it on paper, you can get away with it right now. That's the tough part. That's the part where if you've been purged and you have no reason to believe you've been voting for years, you have no reason to believe you can't go, you've lived in the same house, you go to your same polling place, you see the same people doing it, and then all of a sudden your address is off by a number, or your name isn't on there, or it says you moved, or it says you're a felon now and you can't vote, that if somebody stopped you from being able to vote, they should go to jail. And if a group of them participated, that's a conspiracy to deny people their rights of citizenship, and all those people should go to jail. And it should be a per count charge for every individual that you deny the right to vote, either through wanton disregard or an active strategy. 6 years in jail, $10,000 fine. You have to sit out the longest term in our government. Obviously, it can't be lifetime in SCOTUS, but Senate is 6 years. So minimum of 6 years that you go to jail, $10,000 fine for every single count. Call it the Hal Sparks Voting Rights Act. This is my legal. The Sparks Voting Rights Act. This is, and anytime anybody does it, if you participate at a corporation that is involved in the gathering of the names, should lose their corporate charter. A 501c3 that is involved in gathering names to be purged, they should lose their tax exempt status because they are, in that regard, they are conspiring to deny the rights of American citizens because voting in and of itself is the gateway by which all of your rights exist. Because it is only through the passing of laws and representational government that we enact our political will when it works, anyways. When the all electoral college stuff aside, but it is actually how you invoke the greater parts of your rights as a citizen, and make sure that you are equally protected under the law, especially when it comes to LGBT rights and women's rights, because there has been many of the areas where, and we'll talk about this when we come back. There's a blind spot in how the right looks at minority women and LGBT rights that I think you could actually make them understand that it's in their self-interest to protect these rights. But also, I just don't know if they recognize that the non-existence of these rights, this sort of blind spot in the law, is the thing that is trying to be remedied, not the removal of other rights. And we'll talk about that when we come back. It's the Hal Sparks Radio program, Mega Worldwide on WCPT Radio, Chicago's Progressive Talk. The Women's March is happening today. Carrie's going to call in next hour, but if you're there and you want to tweet me, HSRPM is the hashtag. on Twitter. And, of course, you can join us and watch us on YouTube on your phone and join us in the chat there. We'll be back right after this. Did you guys hear the... Good Lord. The General Lee comment? We're going to play that in the next one. Let's see. Kanye and Jim Brown are now members of the Piece of Crap Club. Oh. Is that who was with him? Wait, who was... Oh, yeah. He was with Kanye. Yeah, his let's see, probably. Yeah, the Jim Brown stuff is, is hard to unpack on a lot of fronts. Not the least, for lots of reasons. Not the least of which CTE seems to, be sort of an underreported aspect in the, in snap violence by former and current football players. I take. A lot of football players, their post-career violence is frightening, and I view it as an untreated illness. Does not excuse it, but you understand where I'm coming from.
20 seconds.
Okay. But yeah, I mean, that's a difficult dude.
Now back to the Hal Sparks radio program, Mega Worldwide, 773-763-9278.
Switching into some Ozzy there. There you go. We sang that. We did this one too, didn't we? At some point, I want to say we started to. I actually learned I can play and sing that. That was one of the first songs I could play and sing on guitar. And
wow. I think we tried. I think it was one of those, we knew the beginning of so many songs.
Yeah, that's right. But we kind of bailed out when we realized that at that point I couldn't sing.
That was not why we bailed out.
It's partly.
It was well, I mean, there were
I don't
times
feel
when
like doing it.
Yeah, I don't feel like doing it. I don't know how. I never bothered to learn the rest of it. That kind of thing.
And once the drums start, it goes twice as fast, and I get lost.
I hope he's not listening.
He is, and he knows. It's okay. It's a high school drummer thing, and I blame it on Diet Cokes and sprees. But
and he has awesome pit bulls now that I follow on Instagram.
Whoa, I did not know that.
Oh, they're adorable. They're the big pit bull babies.
Oh, that's awesome. It's like my friend Richard, who filled in while I was in China, too much sonic effect. He has one of Michael Vick's dogs. He's actually rescued one of Michael Vick's dogs. It's a sweetheart. And we send our love out to Richard Hunter right now because they had 4 dogs. One of his dogs, they had to put it down last week because it got really sick really fast, and it was rough. So, and he and his girlfriend were just dealing with it. And you could, that's just hard.
It's pharmaceutical grade grief.
It is.
There's no complications with pet love.
Yeah, exactly. Right.
There's no, we just had an argument or anything like that.
No.
It's just always 100% on.
Yeah, and and they are innocent in their experience, and in a way that humans, we do not, lay that off on them, that other stuff happened, that you may have played a part, and da-da-da. Well, there's all that, you're right, there's all this emotional baggage when people pass from our lives, but pets, no. I will say there's probably someone out there in the in the listening realm who like, nah, I had this ratty dog who was always biting me, and he tried to catch a car from the front. I couldn't bring it.
And the world's really just better off
without Rex.
I'm sure that happens.
Yeah, it has to. I mean, the world is a big place. All right, so
trying to catch a car from the front, just heading it off.
Yeah, right. I got
it.
The dog was just rude. So, hey, Julie, welcome to the chat. Good to see you. And by the way, Carl's in our chat room as well and says that First Man is terrific and everybody should go see it. We're very jealous here. Yes, we want to go see it. I'm excited to see it. I mean, we're an astronaut family. Summer, my girlfriend went to space camp. We watch, all the Apollo-related movies, anything even close about space and shuttle travel and all that kind of stuff. We're all in, so we're excited about that one. So, but I flew in last night. Long story, but anyways. All the news about murdered and dismembered journalists, and
I'm not a fan.
And
trying to downplay it. Maybe he was a terrorist.
Oh, that's
really?
Well, that's the Don Jr. angle. And Don here, there are a lot of people who at this point are going to go, Trump might sulk away at some point, either, when all this stuff comes out through when the Mueller probe starts to land really hard, especially on the heads of the kids, because he gacked them up in this. Trump gacked his family up in all this stuff. He super glued them over the course of decades to all of his financial misdealings. And he could unpack it out of, I'm a political target and they just don't like MAGA and I'm trying to make, America great again. And I'm trying to put America first. And so everybody's coming for me. And and he could politically talk his way out of it. Don Jr., not so much. Any of those groups, like any of the family kind of, Eric and his wife and their kind of weird, Trump TV kind of angle of things and just their branding exercises, all that, Ivanka's weird, being able to skirt the trade deals and taxes and all that kind of stuff. Like
I cannot take Eric seriously. I don't know what it is.
I think it's because you keep expecting him to pull his shirt up over his head and go.
Yeah, he's. I mean, he's also got like a weird.
Beavis and Butthead have grown up. I mean, that is. I look at them. And it is the most prophetic of all this talk about the 9/11 conspiracy around The Simpsons. There has been no greater premonition in the life of cartoons than the fact that Beavis and Butthead grew up and are the sons of the president. Right now, it is stunning.
Right,
side by side the picture. Side by side.
I can't say anything against that, but also he's got a weird whichever Baldwin brother that became born again.
Oh yeah, sure.
The sloppy one.
Shemp Baldwin. That's what it was. That's who it was. Yeah. Curly Joe Baldwin. He's not quite curly, who is great. They thought tacking a Joe on there would be, would get him away. No. So the point is, all this stuff, it should come as no surprise that all of this, real news is happening. There's some very frightening stuff going down. The story comes out from I think it was New York Times broke down the financial documents of Donald Trump and his, that big story that came out. The
one that's been lost to the Kanye headlines.
Yes, exactly. And what a surprise that Kanye shows up this week and Trump says that literally praises Robert E. Lee. And you can't not jump on that. And by the way, these rallies are simply so he can throw gish gallops and garbage bombs at the media to get them to to get the outrage clicks and draw attention away.
Oh yeah.
From this. So actually, Lady B, do we have that audio of him praising Robert E. Lee?
Because might. Yeah.
Let's give that a listen because there's a little bit of
bad.
Yeah. Oh.
It also gave you a general who was incredible. He drank a little bit too much. You know who I'm talking about, right? So Robert E. Lee was a great general. And Abraham Lincoln developed a phobia. He couldn't beat Robert E. Lee. He was going crazy. I don't know if you know this story, but Robert E. Lee was winning battle after battle after battle, and Abraham Lincoln came home. He said, I can't beat Robert E. Lee. And he had all of these generals. They looked great. They were the top of their class at West Point. They were the greatest people. There's only one problem. They didn't know how the hell to win. They didn't know how to fight. They didn't know how.
Okay.
And that's why the South won the war.
That's
and
right.
They still have slaves.
Yeah, we are literally watching a redneck version of Man in the High Castle. This is Trump literally rewriting this entire nonsense. I mean, yeah, Carl.
And that's why Robert E. Lee had all these deserters. And
that's
most of his soldiers were gone by the time the war ended.
That's right. And that's why, and by the way, he's in Ohio. Ohio fought for the North. I'm from Kentucky originally. Kentucky was a divided state. And eventually, the North won the Civil War. Who is, honestly.
Let's fact check that one. Snopes.
Yeah,
who
right.
won the Civil War.
Well, the idea is, and there has been some talk. Tim Cast and some others have been talking about what they call a soft civil war that's going on right now. Or a cold civil war.
A cold civil war.
Right.
Yeah, totally.
Yeah. And a lot of.
I'm too excited about that.
Well, that's the culture war. Arguably, it's under a different name. The idea that the Republicans are for what they would consider conservative culture. And minorities and people in the LGBT community and women would like to have the same rights as everyone else.
Whatever.
That's the culture war. And again, this is what I've always said about like the quote unquote gay agenda that they talk about a lot. The gay agenda. There's this gay agenda. This is gay agenda. Okay, when you are holding someone underwater and trying to drown them fighting back for air is not an agenda. You're the one with the agenda. You're doing the drowning. And so in the case of LGBT rights, the idea that they could either willfully or with wanton disregard deny people rights as citizens based on their own belief systems that, by the way, while are protected to the end of their nose, are not protected in their in their implementation against other people, meaning that just because you think gay is a sin and your church tells you gay is a sin, that doesn't mean you can tell everybody who doesn't go to your church or doesn't live in your soul that gay is a sin. That's not your business. That's what's great about the United States. You want to make America great again, make it a place of, where everyone has the right to believe and act the way they want, as long as it does not harm another person. We got to take a break. We'll be back right after this. We're going to have Carrie next hour from the Women's March, and taxes. We'll be back. Yeah, so. Mm-hmm.
Be a long recovery.
Let's see. Yeah, we're going through these. I'm trying to scroll back. The gay agenda is simply not being assaulted or killed by bigots. Right, exactly. I'd like to go about, gay people would like to go about their day being alive, doing all the stuff that doesn't have to do with anybody else being gay or, in this, they would like their sex life treated like everyone else's sex life, which is, it's only your business if I make it your business. And you have a decision when I make it your business to either participate in it because I've made it your business or tell me you'd rather it not be your business. I mean, the irony that women are asking for the same behavior from men sexually that that right-wing Republicans seem to be asking gay people for, right? I don't want to know about your sexual interest in me. I don't want to know about your sex life, what you do. I don't want to see it. All that kind of stuff. That's the right-wing like ick factor stuff that they go through. And then they don't understand why women don't want to hear about your sexual prowess when you have to work together on a project at work. That kind of stuff. Like, gay people want to make it to 80 or 90. Yeah, that would be. I'm female in the LGBT community, so double whammy. That's just good business. All right, okay. Thank you, Sandra. Wow, working at the polls. That's great. If everybody in the chat room, there's 229 of us. Look at this group. Everybody, hey, don't forget to quote Can't Stop Lying. Don't forget to like and subscribe to the show. You're helping make the show great again. It never was great, unlike America, which was and is already. I'm just saying. The gay agenda is going to work, grocery shopping, cooking dinner, same as everyone else. That's exactly right. Thank you so much, Under. That's really, like, you guys, yeah, and I really appreciate it. Jamie and Hal, you guys have been terrific. Thank you so much this morning. Just like the show. Thank you. Yeah, so, and if you can, if you've already done that, you've liked and subscribed it to the show, you don't have to turn on the bell. Everybody's going to tell you to, like, get notified when that's whatever. That's as maybe. The important thing is that, you know, we get that subscriber number because you're a regular. I don't need you to get notifications and all that kind of stuff. I trust that you can find your way here when you want to, you know. But if you could tweet out the show or Facebook it to get people to know about it, that would really help. So if everybody in here would just do us, you know, do us a solid and either tweet out the show's link, and or Facebook it, or I don't know, do a screen grab and put it on Instagram. I'll even lift my shirt later, whatever. To be a poll worker, you have to take some classes downtown. That sounds so specific. Some towns don't have a downtown, so you can just go to you can take a class, I guess, from the county commissioner or whatever it is. Just like, if you want to be a poll worker, you got to go downtown. My mom and I always worked the polls when we could. I actually miss it. That's great, Julie. Maybe there's something you can do in terms of going downtown. Maybe there's something in terms of, maybe you already do, helping arrange people in regard to your work. I don't even know what I'm allowed to say. Your work where you are, making sure that expats all have all the necessary materials they would need to vote away from home. That's all I'm going to say. Something along those lines? You probably already do. Thank you, Carl. Look at that. Posted the show on Facebook. That's sweet. My mom was the only Democrat in our town who could get to judge elections when I was young. That's awesome. It's awesome that she did it, not that she was the only one. I'm involved in Democrats abroad here. How get people registered to vote. That's exactly it. Awesome, Julie. I would expect no less. Thank you. Okay, I need to set up a new page for what I'm doing. And then, because our Twitter part there. Let's see, search, do our hashtag.
You're listening to the Hal Sparks radio program, Mega Worldwide.
I've had people walk out of me before, but not when I was being so charming.
Video streaming at halsparks.com.
I don't care for you if the putrid sludge you're troweling out.
Plus faithful pimstick.
True progressive talk.
Might be a good time for you guys to give up.
Okay, there's a lot about the last week that was confusing. I think there was a lot about the last week. You're like, really? What the ever-loving,
exhausting.
What the ever-loving hell kind of moments. And
but my routine has been for a long time. My routine has been to wake up and listen to the previous evening's news from MSNBC.
Mm-hmm.
I can't.
Right.
I cannot.
Mm-hmm.
It is so vile, and they're the only ones saying that, like, why doesn't anybody just say these are lies?
Right.
How is this even approaching normal? How's anybody accepting any of this?
Yeah, well, there's a lot of it that's just like, okay, Kanye is there and he's wearing his MAGA hat saying it's effectively really admitting that it's masculinity cosplay. That's what the MAGA has. I wear this, I feel like Superman. I really feel like I didn't have a dad in the house, and therefore, when I wear this house, the masculine energy of the Trump campaign is what attracted me. When Hillary was saying we're better together, that didn't really motivate me because the
kicking people when they're down motivated me. By the way, we all know his pin. Did you see that?
No, I didn't see it.
It's 6 zeros in a row.
Uh-huh.
They put it out on Twitter of him unlocking his phone on camera. 00000.
Oh, his pin on his phone. I thought he was wearing some sort of pin that had.
The pin on his phone.
Oh, well, again.
So if you ever get a hold of that, you want to see some tasty nudes.
And P.S. You could probably log into Kanye at KanyeWest.com with password. My password is came with the phone. Reorganized lower and big caps with like numbers replacing some of the letters. That's the and by the way, we just are tweeting out this sweet Johnny Million picture.
Isn't that awesome?
Hashtag HSRPM. The real thing though, if we're looking at this, this week, this stuff, and the musical aspect of this, the Kanye West showing up and the what the hell aspect of Kanye West being at the White House. When, by the way, the compilation of stuff of them bagging on Common, by the way, being in the White House, but Kanye is okay. That in and of itself, is.
I don't even remember Common being in the White House, but it makes perfect sense.
Yeah.
He's like a really established actor.
Mm-hmm.
He's an advocate.
That's right. He's a motivational voice, and especially in the black community. He has worked, as God forbid, a community organizer, and ending violence, improving education.
Was he in the Spider-Man Homecoming?
Yeah, I think so. Yeah.
Yeah.
But the reality though is that the biggest news of it that I found shocking was that the Prince estate has sent a cease and desist to Trump to stop playing one of Prince's songs at his rallies.
All right, let's guess what song it is. My guess.
You're going to be
Let's
wrong.
Go Crazy.
Wrong.
What is it?
Do you really not know?
No.
What would you play if you had a rally? Pick a Prince song, and you guys.
I would play "Let's Go Crazy."
Sure.
What's that? The Tonight. The from Sign of the Times. The super long jam.
Housequake? I don't know.
No. I keep wanting to say tonight's going to be a good night, but that's not right.
Oh yeah. Well, Baby, I'm a Star.
Yeah.
I Would Die for You. I mean, you can think of all the egomaniac songs that Trump
Little
could
Red
pull.
Corvette?
Sure. Right. I doubt it. I'm going to go with the horses, and some of them used Trojans reference, probably.
All the jockeys that were there before me.
Yeah, right. Rough. I mean, that's rough. You got to think about that. Roll that, okay. A pocket full of them. All right, anyways, but it's Purple Rain.
What?
Right.
What?
I don't understand.
No. I'm afraid to cover that song in the privacy of my own home. for fear of just being struck down.
I play it on piano, as some people know. It's the only thing I can play on piano with two hands that I didn't write. And Evernum says "Sign of the Times." Is that what you're doing? That you were thinking off of "Sign of the Times"?
Yes, yeah,
yeah, the actual title track, because that makes sense too. Because although,
but no.
Yeah, like they've really got a "We Care About AIDS" kind of grouse to their message. But I play it. I can sit and play it at piano, and quite well actually. And when Prince passed, they put a piano out in front of First Avenue, and I sat and I played it because I was sad, and I I happened to be there the week he passed, and I'm still sad about it. And Frank Prather and I are still in mourning about it. But why are you playing it at a political rally? I don't understand. What is it when Mike Flynn walks off stage or enters stage? Never meant to cause you any sorrow.
Right. Has zero context musically or lyrically.
I don't understand. But he was playing it, and the Prince estate has sent a cease and desist, and I'm glad they're finally getting their act together, because the fact that he didn't have a will and all of his stuff is just being like Warner Brothers is able to just throw whatever they want. It's rough.
Warner Brothers put out a really lame compilation of his stuff from the 90s, and they pulled like 3 songs out of Chaos and Disorder and put it out there, and just ignored most of it.
Yeah. Well, I love Chaos and Disorder and Gold and the Gold Experience, or and those are just orphans. He put those albums out because he wanted to. We could that's another deep dark hole we could go down with in terms of the offense of this week against normalcy in the world. But Kanye's kind of the best part about, I guess for me anyways, the Kanye moments in there was the fact that Trump was kind of dumbfounded while it was going on. That he kind of, if you watch him, he does not know how to take Kanye West, someone of like equal, and because it's almost like, not that he's looking at a mirror, I suppose, but looking at a photo negative of himself for Trump. Like this is a guy who has the same level of BS bravado, has a wanton disregard for other people's worth and space, who has a history of interrupting women, and saying his group matters more than another group, no matter what that is. But Trump sitting there and looking with this kind of glazed look in his face.
What did he have to be on to be able to deal with that?
I again, Adderall and Diet Coke. I think that's the drug of choice these days. It's the Proud Boys.
Proud Boys.
Yeah, it's the Proud Boys elixir. And I have my own theories. We'll get into an entire different, maybe a post-show rant about what I think is going on psychologically in that crowd and the effects of like that Ritalin is the white lead poisoning for a lot of these kids, and a lot of these alt-righters have grown up as the medicated generation, and it hyper-focuses your brain, and it can make you fixate on a bad idea, like a baby duck imprinting on the first thing it sees, and you just follow it forever. And
hell of a metaphor there, Hal.
Thanks very much. It's a cute metaphor.
It's adorable.
Yeah, thanks. It mixes in the two, and so the people are asking, and Bruce in our chat room is saying, who's the woman sitting next to Kanye in the room? I don't know the answer to that.
Parole officer?
I don't think he has one. I don't think he's he's got any charges against him. As far as Jim Brown being there, I don't know if they came together. I don't know if it's one of those situations. I can't. They don't say in the story that I see. But ultimately, all this stuff, the General Lee comment, these are they serve a specific purpose. that by the time you look up from all this coverage being done, the Saudis will have had some sort of verbal slap on the wrist and continue doing what they're doing for the murder and dismembering of a Washington Post journalist. That Jared Kushner will still be in business with the Crown Prince. And Donald Trump will still have his tax pass-through that allows him to take foreign money without ever counting it as income. He will also still be able to shore up his failing businesses with taxpayer dollars, by charging retail to the Secret Service and every other governmental employee that has to follow him around all over the place. That's, by the way, one of the biggest reasons he visits his sites so often. The idea is that there's so much talk about him promoting them because he goes there and he mentions their name, and it's said all over the news that he's at, I don't want to go or Dingleberry or whatever his golf courses are called. And he, in doing so, the press has to report that's where he is. Just, he's making his brand, he's Camp Daviding all his places so they become a normal space, and can sell them effectively. It's free advertisement, which in and of itself, I think the press should, after they have said, they can just simply say he's in Florida at one of his properties. There's no reason to name it. You know what I mean? It's just an ad. But that being said, he also, in going there, all the governmental, services and employees and security, all that stuff, have to pay to be there. He rents his places out to the government.
I don't get it. And
they pay top dollar. It's not like he's like, I'm a billionaire. You know what? I'm not even going to charge the Secret Service to use my space. We're going to set him up. I'll just eat the cost of it because I'm rich, and that's what a rich guy would do. But he's not rich. He's broke, and his businesses are failing. And so he has to both get all the free advertising he can, charge foreign entities, extra money to join, keep the list of people who have joined secret, and then charge, and then get all that free advertising and charge retail to keep them afloat. But when we get back, the Women's March in Chicago is ongoing right now. Carrie is going to be calling in right after this break. We'll be back in a minute. This is the moment in the Matrix where Kanye in looking at there we go. That picture where Kanye hugs Trump, and you could see the Secret Service guys just bristle for a second. Well, you'll see my tweet if you guys look or whatever. And how are we doing on folks in here? 231. We got a couple people joined us. Welcome to the show. Welcome to the chat room, everybody. I thank you for being a part of the conversation. I thank you for liking and subscribing. I'm trying to... Yes?
Hal, you have a couple callers on hold, okay?
Okay, but do we have Carrie?
She hasn't called in yet.
Okay.
I text her to call in.
Okay,
and
great.
she will have Paul Vallis, and Paul Vallis, he's one of the Chicago candidates running for mayor.
Okay, great. Yeah, let me know when we've got her. Yeah.
Okay, we'll do.
Thank you, Natalie. Oh, that's awesome. I'm so glad you could be at the show too. And I'm curious about what the chat room thinks of my new show. Yes, we do need more thumbs up. Yeah, you can thumbs up the videos as well if you got a couple minutes. Just go through and give them all thumbs up. That helps. Oh, Melania, the most bullied woman in the world. Which I have to say, as soon as she said that, I'm like, you know, and some of you may have seen the tweet, but I was like, yeah, before she leaves the house.
15 seconds.
You know. And by the way, calling you out on your crap is not being bullied. That applies to everybody, by the way, not just her.
Now let's get back with Hal Sparks' radio program, Mega Worldwide.
So we're waiting for Carrie to call in. She's going to have one of the people running for mayor joining us on the phone as well, and we'll have a surprise when they join us. And you know, but we've got some callers on the line, and I want to get to them because this. And I explained last week, I think, what a Gish Gallop is. And people need to know this when they watch debates, and they need to know this every time. What Trump's rallies are is a Gish Gallop against the press. And a Gish Gallop is a debate technique where you, in the time allotted to you, you tell 10 lies in a row or 20 lies in a row. How many you send a barrage of falsehoods at your unverified or unverifiable claims, statistically inaccurate assessments, opinions based on that you say are based on fact or circumstance that are not fact or circumstance. You just a ton of those, and then when they respond, because they only have a certain amount of time, they will not be able to respond to all of them. So the psychological effect of a Gish Gallop is, well, they picked out these two things, and these two things were lies. But everything else must have been true because they only worked on those two. It wasn't a matter of how much time they had. It was a matter of, simply just, that only 2 of the 10 things were lies. That's what a Gish Gallop does for you. And so you need to watch for that in debates. Ted Cruz does it a lot. He does it with sort of this biblical flair that he pretends to have, and gets away with it. So anyways, let's grab a caller.
Yeah, we've got Mike on line 1 from Chicago.
Right on. Hey, Mike, welcome.
How you doing, Hal Sparks?
I'm good. How are you?
Okay, you can hear me clearly?
Yep, you sound great.
Sure can.
Okay, listen. The proposal that you was speaking of earlier in regards to someone trying to prevent someone from
voting,
yep, should be arrested. Now, is it a constitutional right that we have in order to vote or not?
There is no affirmative right to vote in the Constitution. It is also part of what keeps the Electoral College legal, is that there's no individual affirmative right. Now, there is what's called what would effectively be a supportive rights structure to voting, that you have a lot of rights in the Constitution that if you don't have the ability or the right to vote are effectively denied you. The idea of taxation without representation. Well, if you don't ever get to pick your representative, then you don't have representation in your taxation. And all the elements of the Bill of Rights that provide, equal protection under the law. Well, if the law can be changed by a congressperson, but you don't have any say in picking that congressperson because you were denied the right to vote, you are denied the right to guarantee you have equal protection in the crafting of law, let's say. So therefore, you will not be represented. Your voice will not be represented in the crafting of law, and therefore you're denied your legal rights under that. So the reason you're able to vote, and the reason why begrudgingly you are provided with the ability to vote, is because of all those secondary structures. What needs to happen, though, and it's almost on a legal level, a PR directive, it also affects how state law can affect you, that an affirmative right to vote would affect how states allocate federal funds. and your ability to direct those federal funds to protect the individual's right to vote. Right now, that doesn't exist, and states are left up to picking their own way. I mean, they could straw poll, they could say eeny, meeny, miny, mo if they wanted to, and kind of get away with it. There'd be a lot of pushback, but they could do it. As an extraordinary case, but there should be, I believe, in the affirmative federal right to vote and a federal standard for federal office, meaning you can pick your governor of your state through a lottery if you want to. But if you're voting for a senator, a congressperson, or the president, then you must there must be a federal standard for what that voting will entail, a federally protected right to do that, because that guarantees equal protection under the law as well. Right now, we do not have equal protection and federal voting ability, because in Georgia, you can, if it can be stolen away, but in California, you're protected by your governor. That's not equal federally. That's not, that you are, as a citizen of the United States, you are not getting equal protection. So that's my big convoluted answer. I hope that helps.
Yes, but so would the Congress have to pass a bill to make it a national? If you have national registration,
mm-hmm.
can that also be applied and added to the Constitution as an amendment? Also, before I go,
mm-hmm.
Can Jeff Sessions be brought up on charges of perjury? Also, can Kavanaugh be brought up on charges of perjury? And can he lose his license as a lawyer since he has done these things?
Yeah, I will. Those are all good points. Yes, anybody can be charged with perjury if they've committed perjury. Whether or not the case will be brought against him is always the tough part. It's in the case of, in legal circumstances, the prosecutor has to believe that there's evidence or the ability or the will or the financial merit to charge the case. That happens in regular life. Jeff Sessions effectively is sort of in charge, in cohort with the Republicans in charge of the Judiciary Committee, who'd have to find him guilty of perjury and have him charged with lying to Congress. The same thing would be true of Kavanaugh. The difference with Kavanaugh is that there's two ways this could go that I don't think people have talked about. One is, I think Justice Alito, who was it, Roberts? I'm drunk. Justice Roberts filed, that investigative charges against him. Or at least right now is looking into these judicial misconduct allegations against Kavanaugh. If he finds that they are there, he could use those to remove him from the court as the Chief Justice. If he is,
but they all are friends. They're friends. They all come from the same sorority.
Sure, but if they have a long-term strategy and they believe that he will be removed in future because he lied, because they believe there will be their political will or ability to impeach him at some point in the future, it is in their own interest as softer conservatives on the judge who are not of his ilk to remove him and have someone else they like better, who is the same age or younger. There's all sorts of secondary reasons why they would want somebody else on the court with them. If they don't think they're going to get another bite at the apple, which they very well may, we got to take a break. But I agree with you. It's a long shot. But the other thing is once those charges,
we could probably squeeze in Carrie before a break.
Sure, we can ride the break and talk to her. Is she on with us now?
She is.
Oh, excellent. Carrie is on with us right now at the Women's March in Chicago, and she has a special guest. Who do you have with you, Carrie?
I have me.
Oh, okay. All right. I thought
you are very special.
Yes.
So I'm out at Grant Park, and I'm out at the Women's March Chicago and the rally to the polls. Thousands of people out here today, and a lot of mayoral candidates, and really good turnout on this cold Chicago day.
Great. And what's the general emotional content of people down there? Are they motivated? Are they angry? Are they a mix of both? Are they glad to be surrounded by like-minded people, or are they frustrated they have to be standing out in the cold dealing with this kind of stuff in 2018?
I think everybody's just happy to be out here. A lot of it is centered around voting. So anybody that's in Chicago today, out at Grant Park, there's a whole voters village. They are registering to vote, registering on site to have people vote. A lot of the mayoral candidates and candidates that are running for positions in Chicago are out here campaigning.
Great.
And then there's a lot of performances. There's bands and singers, and people have signs. And then actually pretty soon here, they're going to march to the polls. The rally is going to converge, and they are going to march down the streets of Chicago to the polling places. So it's actually really good energy out here.
Great.
Not really any angry people. I think it's just a bunch of like-minded people coming together, supporting voting and supporting women's rights.
That's great. And are you finding what's the ratio of groups to individuals there? Are you finding organized groups wearing similar T-shirts as pockets of the crowd? Because to me, a lot of marches end up being kind of like when I've done AIDS Walk across the country at different times, whatever. There's lots of individuals, and then there's companies and businesses and schools and groups like that get together and say, we're all going to do it together.
Yeah, there's definitely some pockets of people that have come together. But you know what I've seen is a lot of people came out from the suburbs. I was on the train this morning, and a lot of individuals that came out by themselves.
Okay.
Which I think is really is pretty cool. I think people that were motivated, that didn't need a friend to come with and didn't need anybody. They came out just on their own volition, just to kind of support the movement. But Equality Illinois is out here. Planned Parenthood is out here. And Illinois Women's Voters Group is out here. So lots of different groups. I've talked to people that are that came from the city. Talked to people that came from 40 miles away just to join in on the rally. So it's a really interesting mix. There's a lot of men out here too, which I think is pretty cool.
Yeah, you'd be surprised. A lot of us are actually for women's rights. You wouldn't get that feeling watching the news lately, but the majority of men actually are for women's rights.
Imagine that.
Yeah, go figure. But then that's news chases fires. That's how it works. I understand that. So how long is it supposed to go on today? What are the hours of the rally and the kind of march in general? Do you have an idea about the route and the and the schedule?
So the website said 12:30 they were going to start to march, but they started people started taking the stage around 10:30, so I think it's running a little bit long because they had different performers.
Right.
There's somebody singing right now, I think, and then they're going to kind of get everybody to march to the polling place. I walked part of the route, but they've definitely got, I'm not exactly sure off the top of my head without looking at the map, but they're marching to the polling places, and they've got police in line, and they've got barricades waiting, and they've got a lot of safety people out kind of in preparation to make sure that the march happens safely.
Right. Well, there's in reading the story on USA Today covering it, and some of the people who are covering March to the Polls, they talked to a woman named Jane Christie, who was 63, who drove in from Iroquois County, Illinois, 90 miles to come be part of this.
Oh, wow.
Yeah. And then I guess one of the things that got some news, and we'll talk about this when we come back. One candidate, Jamal Green, who's running in the nonpartisan mayoral election in Chicago, set up a punching bag with a photo of Kavanaugh on it, and told people to release their attentions on it. We do not support this at Hal Sparks Radio Program Mega Worldwide. We do not strike our political opponents in any way, unless they strike first, I suppose. It would be the fair thing. But that being said, it's nice to see that the candidates are out pressing the flesh leading up to this.
Yes, a lot of candidates are out here. I was surprised. Several of the mayoral candidates, Lori Lightfoot, I spoke with her, Paul Vallis, Tony Preckwinkle, and then Kwame Raoul, who's running for Attorney General, is out here. I've been kind of trying to find him all day, but I keep missing him. And yeah, they're out here talking to the people, supporting women's rights, and just getting out, you know, the
Fantastic.
message to vote is just the biggest thing. It's just everybody needs to register to vote. Your vote does count. And it's just everybody out here peacefully organizing, just trying to get that message out.
The margin of voters in Michigan, which flipped the Electoral College to Donald Trump, was 2 votes per precinct. 2 people. 2 people per precinct would have shifted the vote towards Hillary Clinton and changed the literally the direction of the country. Child separations, our response to Puerto Rico, the Paris Climate Accord, the EPA rules on mercury and lead in our environment, all of that.
Tax cuts for billionaires.
Tax cuts for billionaires. Permanent tax cuts for corporations, temporary tax cuts for individuals. All that stuff, that would have all been very different if 2 more people had gone to the polls in each precinct. So wherever your precinct is, you matter. And you need to take somebody with you. That's right. So thank you, Carrie, for walking us through that. Have a great time out there, and maybe we'll check in with you. I'm sure over the week everybody will check in you with how it went overall and the like. So thanks so much.
Hey, thanks for talking to me. Have a great rest of the show.
Absolutely.
Bye,
Thanks,
Carrie.
Bye. Okay,
Bye.
we'll take a late break, and we'll be back right after this. I love that I can hear your picking on your strings through your microphone, Johnny. Looking at scanning TV stage. I don't think it's on TV. I don't think, they're covering these things. I think they're kind of, the irony that they'll cover all of, Trump's rallies. But if an equal number or greater number of people show up for a march, it doesn't garner the same amount of attention. So there you go. Yeah, there's a... Yeah, there we go. Children in cages tents. Help me knows voted for JB. You're welcome, Prof. House shows are the fastest hours in radio. It's true. Is Carrie a mobster? I have to say we've been pretty troll-light this time, considering, unless I missed some of them. You guys were just so on it and you cleared them out, and yeah. Let's see. I'm gonna HSRPM. There we go. Yeah, and then
How will that affect your ability to get things done?
Well, I think that we're going to be successful. I see the spirit that the Republicans have, and I really believe we're going to be successful. In Pennsylvania, they redistricted certain areas, which was really unfair, in my opinion, really unfair. But I think...
Hey, Hal, it's Nikos. I'm training right now.
Oh, hey, Nikos.
You have about 20 seconds left.
Excellent.
All right, cool.
Welcome.
Thank you.
We're lucky to have you.
Thank you.
Yeah. That's right. Troll blocked. Yeah, the trolls are on the other channels trying to defend the Proud Boys, right? That's what I'm talking about.
I'm Dick Kay from Back on the Beat, and here is the Mega Worldwide Radio Program with Hal Sparks.
It looked like Dick Kay was afraid to jump in and interfere with Johnny's playing for a second there. Are you ready? Are you ready with that massive lick, as it were? So it should expect as we go closer to the election, the talk of the tightening of the race, the Republican enthusiasm allegedly going up, which it has in the post-Kavanaugh.
That is so crazy how like giddy they are, like popping out the champagne. Woo!
Yeah, but of course they are. My thing is I don't know why anybody was A, surprised they defended him as hard as they did, and B, that they're excited that he's in, because it is what he will do they care about, not what he has done. If anyone should make that clear, it's Trump's behavior versus what he's actually accomplished. I mean, because they don't care about Stormy Daniels' payments. They don't care about him, while Melania was pregnant with their son having an affair. Like
Melania doesn't care either. That's awesome.
Well, if you're wife number 3, maybe you have a realistic view of the relationship. That's not my problem. I don't necessarily think he was cheating on her when it happened. I don't think, I think people have open relationships. People have prenups and rules. And if you're that dude and you actually say, yeah, let's get married for the third time, that woman has an understanding of either who you are or how you're going to be. Yeah. There's nothing in their relationship or any of the lead up to it in in page 6 and all that nonsense that leads you to believe that this was finally there are no Jamal Clooney stories about Donald Trump. You know what I mean? There are no the Bachelor's finally met his match and he's settling down because this is the one. There were none of those stories about Melania. It was more like I'm not gonna it's difficult to go into an area where you're talking about what someone's sex life may or may not be. But the reality is that can we all stop pretending that relationships at this level have that kind of innocence factor? It's just absurd. But secondly, the idea that she's the most bullied person in the world, largely by how she's treated by her husband, it seems, at public events. The going forward, though, over the next, the run of this, there's some good news and some and pretend there's not good news. I won't say there's bad news because I'm not going to give you guys the break and say that there's any bad news for them statistically. There is no wiggle room, folks. None. There is no wiggle room. There is no element where an alternative vote or a lack of vote is even an option on any merit. There is no version where you drive by yourself to the voting booth. If there's any option, there is no option. Meaning, if there's a chance, you take it. You make sure that you vote early, that you bring someone with you, that if you don't have a person or you don't need to have a person from your office with you, you take your kid with you so that they understand the importance of citizenship. You work as a poll worker. You phone bank for a candidate, that kind of stuff. Like, it is all hands on deck. And the idea that post-Kavanaugh, the enthusiasm gap dropped by 5%, should be concerning but not surprising, because what Kavanaugh will deliver, and the story they are telling about his past behavior online, and all you have to do is look up any of the alt-right YouTubers and see what they're saying about Dr. Ford and about Kavanaugh and about the charges against him, and understand that each of those people has millions of followers and my little show's got less than 10K. Know that there's an audience for that belief system that is being fed, a regular dose of He's an innocent man who's been, who's being attacked by, weaponized George Soros allegations, and that, Donald Trump's, Mom, I got a job. Mom, I sexually harassed someone at work and now I'm losing that job. Storyline, it lands with a lot of these people, and it motivates them. It motivates the worst kind of voters to come out and do a cult vote, straight across the line. They do not put a single thought into picking, one, going, oh, I like this one Democrat though. Oh, you know what? I'm going to vote for, I'm going to broaden my thing, and so I'm going to vote for all the female judges who are up or whatever. Like that line doesn't exist for them. They are straight line voters, and they are. You should always assume that that 2016 is happening all over again. That even if they say your side is up, until you have won, you play like you're losing. Period. We got to take a break. When we come back, I think we got one more caller, and we're almost at the end of the show. This one's breezed by. Holy smokes!
Bye-bye.
It's because Johnny's with us, and we got we got to talk Prince, and that's always. I like it. We'll be back right after this. See. Yep, mason jar. And today we're I always try to wear my freak out InfoWars clothes. Losing is spelled with one O. That's losing. But yes, see Exhibit A 2010. Exactly. There's 13% lead for generic candidates in the Democratic Party. So that means 5, and that's within the margin of error, Edward. Until there's a 25%, margin, then you can smile as you vote. Until then, oh, I see. Because I stood up. That's what it was. I was just showing you the T-shirt. Calm down, you guys. Still need to vote. Yes. The other thing too, by the way, if you have neighbors or friends who have kids and it's one of those situations, one of the big things with non-voters that came up was women without childcare. And maybe...
Hey, Hal, you're going to be coming back in 15 seconds.
Excellent. I'll talk about this. Any tight T-shirts. I agree. How long can you stay out of show? Just about a half hour out. I'll be leaving early today because I'm doing an event in LA. I got to drive.
Now back to the Hal Sparks radio program, Mega Worldwide, 773-763-9278.
So one of the stories that came out about voting, and we're going to take this caller in just 1 second. One of the stories that came out about voting, people who didn't vote, and during the last election or previously, where they would vote but they can't. They run up against some sort of barrier. Are we just playing music through the whole thing?
Yeah. What? Can you bring down that music?
Yeah. There we go. Hi. I was ready to just start into a song at some point. I should start singing.
Hey, is there any reason that we can't play American Psycho
Nope. We can always play my songs. We can play any of my songs. Always.
Right, so we gotta make sure that we've got that queued up.
Yes. So especially these days. But one of the things that came up about some people who don't vote, and you know me about lazy non-voters or emotional non-voters, the 90s mentality of like, but I'm not inspired. I'm just not driven to, and like, you're not inspired by the fact that you have a choice between kids in cages or kids not in cages. I'm not inspired because I'm not inspired. So the one thing that was true about people who would like to vote and who cannot, that aren't really talked about, besides people who are denied voting machines and the like, is single mothers who don't have childcare and can't gather all the kids up to go vote and keep them corralled and all that kind of stuff. So I would suggest to anybody out there to walk around and go in the neighborhood or whatever, going, hey, if you want to go vote, I'll watch the kids for an hour and a half. We'll play a movie or something. If you can do that, if you've already early voted, you could set up and one of your kids has friends in the neighborhood that day after school, for example, if the parents have to go vote after school or, after work. One of the things that you can do is have a party at your house for the kids. Have your kids' friends come over and go, yeah, anybody who needs the time to go vote after school or whatever, just drop the kids off at the house. We're all going to watch a movie. We'll have popcorn and snacks, and then you can pick them up afterwards, after the polls close, whatever it takes for you to get there. I think that was one of the most important elements of the story about who got to vote and who didn't vote in a lot of ways, and why some women didn't vote last time around.
We do have one last caller
Let's grab
who wants to talk about votes.
Yeah, let's do it. Line 1. Yep, line 1. Who do we have?
Rod.
Hi,
Rod from Michigan. Rod, hello.
Hello. Hey, Rod.
Ron.
Oh, Ron. Sorry, my bad. Ron? I don't hear him.
I think we both hit it. Trying again.
Is he on hold? Ron?
Nikos, could you hit the thing again?
You guys are adorable. Ron, we got you. Hang in there. We'll get to you. We got 7 minutes left in the show. Eventually, we will find you hidden.
Would you hit your button again, Nikos? Whatever you did kind of turned him off. The phone button.
Yeah. He's...
There we go.
Hey, Ron. Now we can hear you. Go ahead. Sorry, you're on now.
Okay. Thank you. Hal, in the last presidential election, 70 to 80,000 votes were not counted in Detroit and Flint, Michigan, according to Greg Palast.
Yep.
Because the Republicans who dominate the state in the legislature and the Supreme Court, they just didn't want to count it, plain and simple, or they threw in bad machines. The same thing with the poisoning of Flint, Michigan. The Republic scum did it just to see if they could get away with it, and they got away with it.
Mm-hmm.
And I'm going to tell you something. The Republicans are dominated by Voss, Eric Prince. I would not put it past those two just to see if they're trying a social experiment to see if they can poison select groups in this country and get away with it. And they proved that they can. And one final point, if I may, Hal.
Sure.
This Tuesday, the 16th of October, is John Brown's anniversary of his raid at Harper's Ferry that started the Civil War.
Right.
We all have to remember that those days were much harder than today. But if we don't get out and vote, we're going to have to be facing probably another Civil War. And one more thing, if I may, Hal, because the right wing likes to bring up the shooter who shot those congressmen in Washington, D.C. He was wrong. Don't get me wrong.
Yeah.
But what that gunman used was NRA rules, and he attacked NRA gunmen, the worst kind of gunmen, the ones that put the laws into effect to put the guns in everybody's hand. But that man attacked those people who were protected by armed guards, not going to a church and slaughtering innocents or going to a school and slaughtering innocent teachers and students. He had the courage to face armed NRA gunmen.
I understand what you're saying there. I will not use the word courage in terms of him. I don't approve of that. I also think,
don't either.
Yeah. But so just to be clear, and I think that's you know me, I'm not in the punch a Nazi crowd. I don't buy that at all. I think it's wrong. And I think the incivility conversation that's been happening over the last couple of weeks, and I appreciate the call too. I'll address kind of what you're talking as we end the show. I really appreciate you hanging in there and calling. And thanks again by the way, to Carrie for giving us, her live report from the Women's March.
Right on.
The march to the polls, which is the important aspect of this. It's not simply a women's march; it is the march to the polls. Unfortunately, you have to motivate a majority of women to vote for the first time, and unfortunately, this is how we've gotten there. I think the lesson we all need to take away from this is that bad people are not motivation for people to finally do something. It's that it takes, often takes something terrible before people wake up. I don't believe in anyone patting themselves on the back for the blue wave that hasn't happened yet. And I think it's incredibly important that the incivility concept, and I understand that both Holder's comments were taken out of context and Hillary's, you don't need to be civil. She's talking verbally with people, like don't if they're swearing at you, you don't feel like you're constrained. But let me explain something as far as how the right has taken some ground, and partly how they won the Kavanaugh fight is the overt civility of their legal violence. Once you can put in place laws that will protect yourself, like keeping people from voting and having someone on the Supreme Court, your fallback is, I'm just being very patient. I'm not yelling. You're the one that's yelling. You're the mob. We're just doing, this is just citizenry. And because they're right on the merits, meaning that, yes, voting matters. Elections have consequences. Never mind the fact that he lost the popular vote. They can lie to themselves all they want that it was all illegal aliens and that all those votes came from California all of a sudden. And they, believe me, they tell themselves that lie. They believe that lie. But they have been using civility as a weapon. They, drawing out Antifa into fights, making sure that it looks like people who are leaning left are fighting back against what they're doing in government and in industry to deny people their constitutional rights. Those people stand up and they make them look violent. This is part of the scheme. This is what the Ben Shapiro and the Milo Yiannopoulos and the all those touring college, Republican speeches that they give, which, by the way, I believe they should be allowed to speak. I believe no one should violently interfere with their ability to speak. I think you can absolutely protest outside. I think silent protest, and like holding signs that say you don't matter and wear a blindfold because I'm not listening or hearing your stuff, and then having a competing speaker across campus that speaks to your values is a better way to go. And understand that that's one of the ways that they are making ground. And you cannot give away your civility to them, because that's what they're trying to do. They're trying to bait you into being incivil and say things that aren't smart, and they'll videotape you and make you look angry and uninformed. Don't get angry. Don't boo, vote, and learn your stuff. If you're going to go to the women's rally, have some talking points. Because if one of these idiots comes up to you, you want to be able to respond to them. They're going to throw a bunch of stuff your way. That's my advice. Anytime you are going to a march, go intellectually prepared to be the spokesperson for that march to the best of your ability. Even if you just have a flyer and you go, here, read this. I don't have to tell you everything. I don't have time for you. Read this out loud on your show. That's why we're here. That's enough. That's enough. But understand that they're weaponizing civility while people are being told to be incivil. It doesn't work. So watch out for that. As we go towards the election, please register your friends, take somebody, make a plan, set up a babysitting, have voting parties. It should be a national holiday. We all believe that, so treat it like one before the government does. Groundswell. Tuesday's party day. So you celebrate your party, and in this case, it's the Democratic Party because everybody else is a lost cause. You guys are awesome. Thank you so much. Thank you, Johnny Million. Thank you, Nico, for
Thank you.
for our new trainee who's working with us. Love you, Lady B. See you, Carrie. We'll see you next time. Stay tuned for Dick K. Look at that. Thanks, Johnny. You're wonderful, Johnny. Don't boo, vote, except on Halloween, then boo your heart out. That's funny. Thank you, Zelda Chick. I appreciate that. Yes, Carl. Vote, 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 vote. Racists or Nazis? Miss Julie. No. Not all racists are Nazis. I would say all Nazis are racists. Not all racists are Nazis. If that makes sense. So it's a distinction that's unimportant. Thank you, Julie, for reminding me. I'm hanging up, Chicago. Big love. Bye. Yeah. You're just doing that because it's easier for me to stand up and my shirt. Okay, so here you go. Yeah, you're gonna be happy now. This is the. There you go. That's the cutting. That's the result of it. It's very bright in here, so it's not the most flattering light. I don't know, but. Define Nazis. But all Nazis are racist. Yes. Define Nazis. Nazis believe in they are specifically white supremacists who believe in racial purity. That's not all racists. Some racists, like a lot of the people who, like I said, all Nazis are racist, but not all the nationalists that are walking with them are racist per se. If you look at some of the Proud Boys and some of the other people, they're literally, and I'm not talking about the golf shirt guys who were in Charlottesville, but a lot of the other groups believe that they're Asian, they're black, they're Hispanic, they're white. They're walking with these guys. Trying to make myself into a prime rib, yeah. They believe in they are nationalists, but they believe in yeah. I mean, it's not an important distinction to make between the two of them. I'm simply saying Nazis believe that Jews are the inherent problem. People of Germanic descent are the primary. That's a specific form of racism. The rest of the races in the group aren't necessarily of that group because they don't fall into that. There's Jewish members of the Proud Boys. So I would say that person is a racist. They're just not a Nazi. Nazi's just unless you're using Nazi as a catch-all phrase for anybody who's bigoted. So, thank you, Donna. Wow. That's awesome. Yes, vote, vote, vote. March to the polls. Yes. My father's black, fought in World War II against the Nazis. When he got back to the United States, the white police in L.A. treated him worse than any German. Okay. Don't I? Use your powers for good. I see. Happy clappy ladies and gentlemen. Right. It was being discussed. I was trying to simplify it. It was being discussed. I was just trying to simplify Nazi. I understand. But I do think that Nazi loses its power when it's when it's used as a loose pejorative, or it just makes it I think we need to be specific. It's my problem with, it's almost in the same zone as my issue with the word problematic. It's not problematic. It's bigoted. When somebody says something that's bigoted, they're not problematic. What they're saying isn't problematic. It's bigoted. What they're saying is based on bigotry. So call it out as bigotry. Just saying it's problematic means you think it's bigoted, but you don't know how. And you can't articulate it, but rather than say nothing, you'll say something, and that's problematic. And if you're, you call the things what they are, because if you call something, and again, this is sort of generic, using Nazi as a generic. That's why it's sort of a meme about bailing on an argument. Is once you call somebody a Nazi, the conversation's over. Why would you discuss anything about anything with a Nazi? So discussion's over. And then you fall into that group of like that pro-choice guy who kicked the camera out of the hands of kicked this pro-life activist who was filming this rally, kicked her in the face. Like, I'm not on board with that at all. It's hard to watch Man in the High Castle because I think if Trump were president back then, he would join the Nazis. Clearly. Sessions is sending folks to Chicago to help while trying to end the decent decree. Yeah, it's cover. We live in a world where literally can mean literally or figuratively. Words can change. No, literally means literally. And when people use literally to mean figuratively, they're often pointed out as stupid. And just because a tide of linguistics is going one direction doesn't mean you have to participate in it and say that language is that flexible. What irritated me to no end was the Kavanaugh hearings when members of the media found some witnesses to be incredibly credible. Right. Yeah. It's in French, we would call that a faux ami, a false friend. Making a word, that doesn't mean what you think it means. Technically is a little, has a little more wiggle room because both it means, technically in terms of material elements and within the realm of a technicality. My favorite Bible chapter, 2 credibles, right? By the way, the stream is working excellent on my end right now. Look at that. Yeah, we got through 2 shows in 2 weeks. Oh, Julie, wow. Thank you. That's awesome. Thank you, guys. Holy smokes. Still got 200 people in the chat and the post. I can only stay on for about a half hour because I literally have to drive, and Carl was saying it's rainy and awful, so it's going to take me a little longer. I'm doing a benefit for the Stray Cat Alliance, which, raises money for no-kill shelters and spaying and neutering cats. And obviously, Chud and everybody, everybody knows that Chud is my feral cat that I rescued, and we had her spayed and got all her shots, and she's a happy house cat now. And we've got Murphy. Oh, I should show you guys. It was the shirt. Yeah, you guys. Aren't we anti-adverb these days? Speaking of technicalities, did you measure your Git strat for me? I didn't, Robin. Oh my gosh, it's been a busy week. I spent the whole week with Cam. He had an event at school. They did a fun run to raise money for his school, and so I went and I volunteered. And that was basically I was off radar almost entirely for like 4 days. So yeah, is that to raise money for the musical group? Yeah. I think it's supposed to be clear in the early afternoon, but the cone passed. Yeah, that's always rough. I'm going to go see if I can find Murphy. Hang out right there. Enjoy looking over my room. Whatever. Here's another flash. There you go. Look at that. It's starting to cut really nicely. Like in here. Yeah, anyway. Just saying. Be right back. Can't find him. I can't find Murphy. He's around somewhere. Probably in a closet someplace. Sorry. I tried. But did you find him? Okay, hold on. Was he on your head? Oh, I couldn't see if it's the grip. Yeah, you're a big star. Hi, Murphy. Well, you're going to tell him a story, I think. This is Murphy, everybody. Here he is. There he is. Hi, say hi, Murph. There he is. I know. But I don't want to. Why? Yeah? How come? What were you doing? Were you sleeping on the gray sheets so we can't even see you? Yeah, this is Murphy. Summer rescued Murphy. I know. And he's a sweetheart. He sleeps on her neck. So, yeah. Let's go. Okay. Yeah, your love. Oh, Murphy. Yeah, Murphy's Law. Right. If I can mess up something, I will. He's a good kid. Okay, you can get down. You're just going to crawl around here and gnaw at my wires. So, yes, you are. Don't shake your head at me. Oh, it's a yawn. He hates being woken up, and he meows if you wake him up. He's like, hey, hey, hey. Murphy Sparks, that's right. I think he's really Murphy Soltis, honestly. He's definitely a mama's boy. My cat, Ariel, sleeps on my chest and neck. Yeah, I'm worried that when he gets bigger, he's going to suffocate Summer in her sleep. So, yeah. Man, with cat. Neck is preferred for some reason. Well, I think it's the heat and the heartbeat. And, they can feel it. There's a lot of heat in your neck. He's brand new. He's a couple months. Oh, I didn't do anything. I just patted him. Is he just complaining? I want someone sleeping on my neck. I used to have a black cat sleep on my head. Yeah, he's that way. Like, I'll come in and literally he's like laying across Summer's. She's like, he's super cute. Trump doesn't have any friends, only imaginary, so maybe he has imaginary pets. Yeah, that's weird too. The guy's never had a pet. Ever. I mean, it's one thing, like, I understand some poor people can't afford pets. And and some people don't, have the ability to, or they're allergic or any of that kind of stuff. But ultimately, like, if you're that wealthy, like, I'm surprised you wouldn't have, there are very few people who are billionaires, real billionaires anyways, who don't have a farm or some equivalent place with either animals, even if they're just for show. And at the farm, they have a couple of dogs. You know what I mean? Like, I can't think of any offhand. Like, I think even, does Jeff Bezos have pets? He had a dog named, that's funny. He had a dog named Kamala, named after a lesser-known Star Trek character in the 1990s. And he's got a Spot Mini in 2018, which is a robot dog. That's his. He had one of those. Yeah. So apparently he has. Yeah. So, like, Zuckerberg has a dog. Elon Musk has a dog. The CEO guy has a dog, or Instagram rather, CEO has a dog. Salesforce's CEO has a dog. Yeah, everybody at Instagram who runs the place has a dog. Google CEO, like, all these people. Bezos literally has one of these Boston Dynamics dogs, which is just like an accident waiting to happen. But I'm gonna finish off eating wasabi and soy sauce almonds. My eyes are on fire. Oh, at least you didn't rub your eyes. He orders pets off of Amazon, right? Aw. A billionaire would probably have an Egyptian cat statue. Miss my dog. Yeah. Yeah, even Dr. Evil had a cat. I think technically Dr. No, which is what that was based off of, is the first instance of a stress animal, of an anxiety animal. Okay. Because he literally Like running an evil organization is very difficult. That's why I have to have an anxiety pet all the time. Serena Williams' husband has a dog. What is that? What? I don't know what you mean. I hope you're not. That's not a her reference. And yeah. Is he a billionaire? Oh, I guess because he's rich or whatever. But the point is, like, I don't understand it. Like, I don't understand never having had a pet. I understand not currently having one, especially when you're 70s or something like that. I mean, my dad's almost the same age as Trump, and he's got 3 dogs. Trump would use a mountain lion. Bruce would kill the cat. Blofeld had. That's right, Blofeld. Thank you for straightening me out, Michael. I appreciate that. Dr. knows where the outfit came from. Blofeld was the eye scar or something. Oh, we have a parrot next door. And he gets mad if we don't wave at him. If we come home and get running in the house, he gets all huffy like that. But if you're like, hi, he'll flap his wings and run back and forth. It's really cute. His kids hunt animals. That's right. We're now a 2-cat, 1-dog household. All the rescues. It's great. So let's see. Let me shut this down. I got about 13 more minutes, and then I can get my stuff together. It's raining. Oh yeah. Don't forget, by the way, if you can, use the HSRPM tag and link to the show after the fact. That also helps too, if you guys feel like doing that later on in the week. And you can go through on YouTube on the main page. On my page, you can. Let's see if I can find the actual channel. There it is. You can go through and like link to, or like take any links to the previous shows that you really liked or whatever, and put those up. Some of them have, are pretty terrible just because they were on for a split second or I was testing gear. So I'll remove those eventually. I got to go pair this out. I got to be a little better and get my thumbnail game on board. I'd like to, let's see, what for the live streams on this channel? What was that in relation to, Molly? Say. Let's see. Nice Q. I feel like you're the only one you need. You're the only one you got. I'd love to have a crow, but I don't know if it's legal. You can have a pet crow. Absolutely. I had a couple at the house in Venice that I loved. Eventually I felt like I could have at least gotten one of them they're really smart, and they eventually trusted me. They would sit and eat right next to me. I'd use the same technique I used on Chud eventually. You imagine Trump trying to train a dog, he would name it Stay. It would be named Bigley. He took the biggest crap on the carpet ever. HuffPost says Thursday, October 18th at 7 p.m. Eastern Time. For what? By the way, those of you that are in the LA area, if you notice, I just put up a link to the Flappers shows. I've got 2 of them, 2 nights in a row. It's my only time ever where I've done Flappers actually headlining multiple nights. I've only done it one-nighters before. So it's a Friday and a Saturday regular kind of, just regular shows in town. And then the week after that, I'm in Atlantic City for you guys that are East Coast at Howie Mandel's Club in December. I'm going to be gone to China the whole month of November, which is, man, it's creeping up. It's going to be, I'm going to blink and I'm going to be over there. Politicon, I will be there the 21st. Oh, cool, Carl. Well, let me know. Again, blue patch rules apply, so buy one, get one free is essentially the only thing I can work out with clubs. I'd love to, like, blue patch the crowd in. Like, whoever you bring is cool with me, but most of the clubs will only sign off on, like, a promotion where it's, if they buy a ticket, you can get one free through some sort of code or whatever, so that's our code. So if you have the blue patch, wear it. Somebody had it on, like, a little flag standard. if you need one, don't forget to email me at the site at halsparks.com and just go to the contact page and put "I want a patch" in the body of the text and your address and all that kind of stuff, and we'll just send you one. It doesn't cost anything. But in the if you have it at the shows, you can do it when and I like for all those shows. Basically, if you buy your tickets ahead of time, I'm going to try and get it so they can put Blue Patch in, like as a code, as a promo code, or when you call the ticket office and that kind of stuff. Get to Denver someday. Hell, I just flew through Denver twice this week and didn't get to stop, but I will absolutely do Denver again very soon. I love Comedy Works up there. I haven't done it in years. So, yeah, the 21st will be I'll be at Politicon on the Film Threat panel. As one of the guests there. I may get bounced to another panel too. That happens a lot, but that's on the 21st. That's awesome, Zelda. I'm glad. That was 100% the goal. When am I back in Chicago? I don't know when we're doing the next one. I would love to do another, fan get together for HSRPM, and then maybe a one night show before it gets too cold. You're into Ithaca, and would you ever come here and meet your fan? I have been to Ithaca through. I did a small one-nighter there, but yeah. Are you doing anything with John F. that Sunday? Is Fugelsang doing something in L.A. on Sunday? Oh no, at Politicon. I see. No, I don't have any plans. I'll reach out to him, see if that's the case. Is he running a panel? I just got asked to do that kind of out of the blue, so I wasn't planning on attending. But I'm looking forward to it. And Chris Gore, who's the Film Threat guy, is just awesome. I did a podcast with him. We had a great time. I have to go now. Drive safe. Hope you raise lots of money for the stray cats. I think that's awesome. Hello to Summer. Bye, everyone. Thank you, Natalie. I'll see you at the next show, too. So we don't know quite when the next Chicago one is. Addie, look at that. You made it right at the tail end. I don't know if he's doing a panel while he's there. Okay, is he doing like a debate or is he just covering it or something? We'll figure it out. I'll ask him. I don't know why I'm suddenly Carl making you his agent. So, okay, only got a couple minutes left. So the goal thing that you guys have been following on some over the last little bit has been going awesome. I've been still doing one meal a day, almost every single day. When I was with Cam 2 days, I went back to regular intermittent fasting for 2 days, but every other day I've just been eating an enormous amount of food in one big sitting. Basically doing somewhere between a 20 to 22 hour fast every single day. And it's been awesome. No flagging energy, strength has been good in the gym, all that stuff. It's been pretty kind of amazing. I will keep you guys posted on how it's going. I'm going to, at some point in the near future, do a dry fast, meaning no food, no water for 72 hours. But the third day you feel like crap, and that'll. I will do that very carefully. But yes, I do come to Cleveland. Actually, I'm there almost every holiday because I have family there. So you drink all the juices. I don't. Bye, Natalie. Was at Politicon last year. Lots of MSNBC folks, met SWAT guys there. Yeah, I got to talk to Michael Steele quite a bit at the last year's or year before Politicon or whatever. In the lead up of all this or whatever. And I've slammed Politicon in the past because I think a lot of their panel stuff is phony. And so that's why I wasn't invited back last year. Chris invited me to do his panel just because he wants me there. But it wasn't, they're not booking me for Politicon, as it were. But the weirdest part, I kept feeling like if they'd have just put a camera backstage where in the green room where people are all waiting, where like Ann Coulter and Glenn Beck and whoever else, what was it, like just like all the lefties and the righties all hanging out and they're all just kind of getting along. Like I felt like that would be a better panel. but if you turn on a camera back there, it would actually just blow out everybody's preconceived notions about tribalism and all the stuff that you hear. By the way, I'm curious about what you guys think about this, and this is kind of a heavy way to end it or whatever, but I happen to think that tribalism these days is becoming in some cases the soft bigotry of the left. That there's a certain amount of like sort of, I don't even know how to word it quite yet, so maybe I won't put this out there, but this idea that my personal belief is anytime you joke about or you decry or you use as a pejorative any aspect of a person that is not changeable, meaning their ethnicity, their skin color, their heritage, their sexual orientation, if they are a burn victim or an amputee, if they have a permanent mental disorder, anybody who does that, anyone is bigoted. The argument about power dynamic and racism and saying, racism is it has to do with like class as well, or it's okay if you're not in a higher class or you've been on the downside of that. The rule is you must maintain the principle, even if you think someone is their cultural is such, because it's funny to me that people will use white, male, and straight as a pejorative, and obviously as all three of those things, I take issue with the idea that I'm the enemy, and this kind of ease of use of it doesn't do any damage to the people they are trying to upset, or decry or tear down. What it does is grant them equivalent victimhood in their narrative. So it does not help if you equate the behavior of a man with men, of a woman with women, of a black person with blacks, or a white person with whites, unless they are specifically acting in a directly nationalist or bigoted way. If you see, there are black YouTubers who don't like Jews, who call them small hats, and don't believe that black people should mate with white people. Like, that person isn't not a bigot and a racist and an anti-Semite simply because they start from that position of being black, any more than some, Bernie Sanders is, because he's white, straight, and male, is automatically lumped in with Donald Trump on his, in his philosophy, his emotions, in his power dynamic, and how he cares for people. And I know people, how I like, and will use the idea of having elevator speech when attending march. Yes, absolutely. You must have that, Jennifer. And I hope this makes sense to everybody. Because I see this even in my friends, and I will make like if there's a small group in the Congress, like the Freedom Caucus, I call them the Freedom Caucasians because they don't have any people of color in their group. It doesn't mean all the white people in the Republican Party are racist, but the Freedom Caucus themselves don't have any minority people or women in their group. There might be some. I don't know if the Congress. There's a Congresswoman in there, like a Southern Congresswoman, but I don't think so. I'm pretty sure it's all male as well. But the point is, if I, and like that's specific to that group of 25 people or 35 people or whatever, and that's fine. But when you attach, you take the immutable characteristic of that group of racists and lay that characteristic on other people, you are doing the same thing that they do when they don't want black people to move in their neighborhood because some black people commit crime. This is their argument. You will hear this all the time. Or Hispanics, the MS-13 gang members and all the Trump argument that it's, or the Muslim ban. That is the exact same principal position of the Muslim ban. Because some of them are bad, none of them can be trusted. And if you live in that space, first of all, you don't believe it. It's a lie. You don't actually do that. You don't actually operate in the world. It is the same, it creates an artificial hypocrisy in yourself that you walk around with because you don't really live that way. You go out in public all the time and you're not throwing acid in the face of every white male you see. So clearly that generalization isn't true. Plus the idea that, that you would spit in the face of every ally that you possibly have is an absurdity, that you would tribal, yourself, to your own detriment or to the detriment of everybody else around you by using Nazi-esque language. And this is kind of what made me think of this was her idea of like all racists are Nazis. Like, no, they're not. All Nazis are racist, but not all racists are Nazis. And a lot of racists are super specific about who they don't like. They are racist towards a specific group of people. You can say that a vast majority of Chinese people, especially those from Nanjing, are racist towards Japanese people. Is it warranted because of the behavior of the Japanese in in World War II? Or is it a scar that they can be forgiven for being racist towards them? Or is the new generation who wasn't raised in that, who is dealing with Japan as it is now and the Japanese people as they are now, and the people who are alive now who weren't alive then, is it okay that they still view all Chinese people the way they viewed, Japanese soldiers at Nanjing? Obviously, those Chinese people are racist towards Japanese people. You can question their reasoning. You can agree with their reasoning even to some degree, or at least agree with the fact that they have scars that are legitimate if you think that, but it's still racism. And at some point, if you're okay with that, the problem I have is not that decrying the Chuck Grassleys of the world as old white men who don't get what it's not to be white and what it's not like to be not male and what it's not like, they don't know what it's like to not be anything but straight in a world that's been treating it badly for those years. Now, the argument that there are some closeted gay Republicans who know exactly what it's like and are legislating based on what they know what it's like, knowing that if they do tell in their neighborhood, in their city, in their county or whatever, they'll get lambasted, destroyed, they'll be subject to violence. So their decision to hide behind a mask of heterosexuality in their world, you can say it's awful, or you can also say that's a scar caused by society. The point I'm trying to make is this goes into the same zone as punching Nazis and and categorizing people based on their race or their gender or their and limiting what they are allowed to do, say, or be. That's wrong. It's wrong. It's wrong. It's un-American. It's not right. It's not right to say to a child who's born brown, because you're born brown, you're bad like other brown people that I think are bad. That's ridiculous. That's racism. It is the same thing if a child is white. It will not answer the power dynamic issue, and it will just disenfranchise a ton of voters. Tons of the women who voted for Trump. There were a bunch of people who voted for Trump, white women that, and the idea is that they are racist. A bunch of them voted simply because they have children, and those children are being saddled with the sins of grandfathers or alleged grandfathers or even Germans when they're Irish or something. There's a piece of that. The point is, and we can hash about the basis of it, but the point I want to make is it's wrong. Avoid it. Catch yourself. If you use race or sexuality or gender as a pejorative, as a way to group people together, then you make it okay when the other side does it. It is, there is no other way to put it. Don't do it. Be better than that. Use your tools of communication better. No, I just care really about this, Bruce. It matters a lot to me because I hear it a lot, and I hear a lot of like allies wilting under the weathering, screams of this kind of stuff, especially at things like the Women's March, where I've been, went to the one here in L.A. We were at the one in D.C. along with a lot of other women. I was very proud to be there in support or whatever. Rappers using the N-word is a different category of stuff. That's not in the same category as this zone. You can use whatever word you want. It's the meaning to which you attribute it. But I don't know that they generically use that, Tony, as a derisive or supportive word. It seems to be flexible in that languaging. Not up to me to say. It's not something I use. I don't believe in using it. I also don't believe in reclaiming bad words like that to make them good again, or to take the Lenny Bruce theory of using it a lot didn't actually work out. It did not actually functionally help anything. Point is, check yourself if you can. If this makes any sense to you at all, because what happens, and this is the concept I don't think people grasp. When you take, they talk about how social media is making everybody lonely. And it seems to be making everybody lonely except Nazis. You and I put something up on the web and 15 people retweet it or like it, and we're like, wow, I guess that wasn't very popular. But a lonely dude with, white nationalist ideas tweets something out and 15 people retweet it. He's like, I have 15 friends I didn't know I had. The same thing is true of why you don't. It's the same reasoning behind not using radical Islamic terrorism or saying, Islam is the blah, 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 is the problem with the violence. Because what it does is it doesn't make all of Islam side with ISIS. But what it does do is allow ISIS to think they have more support than they do. This story has been told for a long time. The biggest lie the devil told was committed was convincing people he didn't exist or something, paraphrasing it. But the idea, I think the exact opposite is true. I think the biggest lie of the devil is that you're surrounded, because it takes the joy out of life. You have more friends and allies and supporters statistically off the charts in this country than not. And if you're so busy looking for the villain in everyone, you will not, you'll miss all the people who do love and support you, who do believe in you, who are creating a better society, a more perfect union. You miss that because you're looking for the monster. Yeah, it's true. Chinese with Japanese. My husband is ethnically Chinese from Malaysia, and I'm always amazed when I hear the aunties back in Malaysia smack talk about Japanese people. Yeah, I mean, I've learned a lot, traveling over in China about their feelings about people, because they have the Uyghur Muslims who are coming in. They've got the Kyrgyzstani people who basically look, Greek or Middle Eastern, but are technically Chinese. There's Russians. There's white Russians that live up in northern Chinese who are just on the wrong side of the border. They're ethnically Russian, technically nationally Chinese. There's a lot of racism in those areas, and it's not, all one direction. And so I think what we need to be is as representative of a culture of freedom and equality, and what the promise of this idea is be best, is to represent that as best we can, even through our anger. So you'll look at what I've written, and even when I slip occasionally, I will try to mitigate it afterwards or apologize. But most of the time, if you watch what I'm saying, I'm really careful to not make my enemies think that they have more support than they do. So that's the problem with using Nazi on some of these people, is because the Proud Boys of the world and those groups or whatever, they take it as a point of pride when they get called that. They do. So, anyways, yeah, I gotta go. I'm late. You guys are awesome. Much love. I hope that made sense. Just, manage yourself. Try to be, the best version of yourself. Be wittier than you have been. Be smarter than you have been. And again, if you're going to go to one of these marches, you have an elevator pitch ready. Have the, the kind of point of the main driving forces of it and how to express that. And especially if Trump bothers you and he's one of your driving forces, there's tons of facts about what he's done that are easy to recall, and just drive it home. If InfoWars or any of these people come up to you, go with your gut about what you don't like about him. But there's tons of instances legally, verbally, things that he's done and said that you have as ammunition. Just don't be caught out in the open like some of these people going, I don't know, he's just a racist and I don't like him, because while what they're saying may be true, it's too easy to rebut. So anyways, take care of yourselves. Take care of somebody else. You guys are awesome. I will see you next time. It's been terrific. This show went really fast, and I blame you. Thank you guys. And thanks everybody for the super chat. Don't forget to like and subscribe. We will see you next week. I'm going to be doing more short form videos as well. So once I do more of those, we'll pass them around. You guys are fantastic. Love you bunches. Bye.